I don't mind that.
I'm actually qualified. My mum's a psychiatric now.
It doesn't work like that, Tom. What have you got here?
Sweet.
A few prompts.
I was watching Russell Brand's podcast, and he always has notes.
Yeah, it's definitely a good idea.
So if we want to level up,
And he also makes notes when other people speak, and I thought that's a really
good idea.
great idea. I'm glad that we can kind of speak with such confidence nowadays, and that is of course men's mental health, and November being typically a month where it's highlighted. You have the charity Movember, one of the leading charities for men's mental health and suicide prevention, that have, as I'm sure many of you are aware, the Grow a Moustache. And they've also got Move for Movember, and this is quite a frightening statistic that I read last night, which is in light of kind of, well, not in light of, but to highlight the 60 men that we lose every hour to suicide. They have a run or walk 60-kilometre challenge, which is a disastrously frightening statistic. And inspired Men's Mental Health Foundation have also been inspired through the work of Movember, and are doing their green ribbon. So you can order a green ribbon. You can get involved and join their conversation on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter by using the pin it for men's mental health hashtag. And they also host or they give you the opportunity to host a curry and a chat. They had it virtually, but now we're in kind of times whereby COVID doesn't seem to exist. Probably nice to use the opportunity to go and meet up with your fellow peers. And I suppose we should kick the podcast off with a question that not many of us blokes ask each other nowadays. And how are we? How are you both mentally?
You looking at me?
I'm looking at you, Joe.
I'm all right now. I had this conversation with someone actually this week. I think this year I built it up to be one of my. I was like, oh, this is going to be the year everything's going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably the worst year of like mentally in terms of like mental health in my life. Not the worst year of my life in terms of what's happened and the things I've been able to do. I think you'd scoff at the fact if I said it's been a bad year. But the repercussions of what the year sort of left on me in terms of mental health were definitely my worst. And I am nowhere near most people when it comes to, or many people I think that I'm aware of when it comes to like getting really, really low. I've never had, I can hand on heart say I've never had thoughts of like, I'd rather not be here. Never had that, lucky enough to be able to say that. And I know personally people that have, which I think is like, it's almost unfathomable for me. It's quite scary, I think. And especially when I speak to people that I know and love, it's like, wow, like I really feel for people who have ever felt that way. But right now I'm in a much better space as of now, as of today. Last few weeks, obviously lots of change, I think, which always leads to a bit of turmoil anyway, but getting to this point, yeah, I'm good. I think you're right though in terms of asking how are you. I spent a lot of time with one of my friends this weekend and we were so deep in conversation for the whole day, and I must have been within 3 hours, and I was like, are you all right, by the way?
Yeah.
So I do try and make the point of asking people how they are. If I'm ever going to start a conversation, it's always like, how are you? I think that's just polite anyway, but
I know that for me it's quite a nice way to come to that. How are you today, mate?
I think it's important. I think like that should be a given. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then almost I think if it is a given, sometimes it comes into a place where it's taken for granted, and you're just like, yeah, good. So I think almost that is that like powerful thing where you ask it again. Are you actually all right?
Yeah.
How are you in yourself? Like my sister does that, which
That's
I find
so
quite
true.
funny, because it's easy to go, yeah, I'm fine, you, and it's just that's just the way it is. But yeah, I guess we're going to get into the reasons why we've maybe struggled this year individually. But how are you, Josh?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm somewhat living the dream. That's how I like to describe my life most of the time. Definitely ups and downs. I mean, for me, the biggest thing was coming off the almighty high of this season.
Of course.
And I thought I was going to drop off a cliff. I definitely didn't. I just descended slowly. And maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, I had to get my hernia surgery as well, which kind of kicked things a little bit. And when your career focuses around one aspect of your life so much, being bodybuilding, your brain goes, or my brain at least goes, oh fuck, what's happening now? Like, how do I get back on my feet and stuff? But as of now, like 98% of the time, I'm real good, and especially now more than ever, I think.
Because you put up a story, what was it, a few weeks ago, just that feeling that I think we can all agree with, that we've felt sometimes, especially in this industry, is that feeling of being overwhelmed. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago you put like...
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that I probably suffer with the most is that, and I don't really know where the pressure comes from, because I mean, I allow that pressure into my zone, into my world, but and whether I want it in there or not, it comes. That's how it feels. It floods in, and the pressure to perform, the pressure to be this guy on social media who is, you know, someone who people look up to. I feel that pressure day to day, and I can get to those points where I feel overwhelmed with it, to the point where my reaction to overwhelming is, right, let's switch off then, and everything and I just recluse into my and I don't tell people how I am, and I go actually do the opposite, and I kind of veer away from it, and that's perhaps something that I need to work on myself. But
do you feel like there's a slightly bigger increase in the pressure now to perform at the pro card, and this is for you as well, Joe? Did you feel like now I've obtained and achieved this status, it's like, right, all aspects of kind of me as an individual brand need to almost step up. I can't be lax or appear to be lax in this field?
I definitely felt increased pressure. I think nothing that's kind of steered me too far, to be honest, because I feel like I also have an overwhelming feeling of I earned it. I don't necessarily owe people anything for it.
Nice, yeah.
Which is kind of nice. But like, I am a representative of the sport, and I am a representative of myself and my family. So I do kind of want to be that person who shows up a lot. I don't know if that changed for you at all.
I think all the pressure I feel is all myself. I don't think anyone else is putting pressure on me that bothers me apart from myself, which I think is obviously something we'll probably touch on. But that comes with what we do, is like, it comes from every single angle at the moment. And I see Josh as very good at, and that's probably my external view, probably something that we probably want to talk about, even privately, but also on today, in terms of like that showing up every day. You've spoken a lot about showing up every day, and that has been an absolute backbone of your success. I think I really struggle with showing up every day. Like, obviously now, so I've just had surgery, right? And I know, and even other people notice it. My dad in particular, he follows me like a hawk on Instagram. If I haven't posted in like 3 days, he's like, "You're right," and I'm like, "Yeah." Well, I'm like, yes and no. That's like my first level of recruits. I lack inspiration and motivation to come up with something worth posting. I posted something yesterday or 2 days ago, and it just has no value whatsoever. But I was like, I just need to show my face, and I kind of hate doing that. So I think the pressure probably is social media, but it's created in my own head. I don't feel pressure from anyone really, because at the end of the day, like, I'm doing this for me, aren't I? It doesn't really impact anyone else, you know. I think there's an added pressure again when you start running a business. That's another thing, and obviously, what has like impacted me quite a lot this year is this like up and down nature of like interaction, which we've spoken about as well, and that's crazy, isn't it? To know that like that messes with me a lot, because I worry about it at the time. I worry about it after. Like when I launched my t-shirts, when I did all the polling, I know people, you know, they jump up and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to buy one. I'm going to buy one." They say yes on the polls. It's very easy to click yes on a poll, buy, you know, do a t-shirt, and this is the size I want it in. I only did 150 in the end, and I really thought, based on all that interaction, all the clients that were interested, they would go within 24 hours. It took like a week and a half, which, in reflection, I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, that's really good. Yeah. Like, I worked at John Lewis, and we struggled to do a 75% sell through, and I managed to sell them all. That's unreal. But the up and down nature of that interaction and engagement from Instagram, when it's my sole selling platform, I was just like, you cunts. Like, you have to do it right now.
Yeah, that's what's hard about Instagram and having your job on that digital world. It's like, did something change in the algorithm? Am I just shit now?
Yeah.
Did I say something that fucked up? Like, am I blacklisted? That's the hard part for me.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people that blame the algorithm, and I think, well,
I've probably done it.
We're probably doing it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
I'm one of them.
Yeah, I did. I mean, we've been doing some work for Gymshark, and then I try as best as possible nowadays, being almost 10 years in the industry, for comments not to kind of get under my skin, but someone just commented about the reason why your channel's doing so bad is because you become like everyone else and doing Gymshark clothes hauls. And I was like, you know, when you just start you just spin, and then irrationally you think, oh fuck, maybe, you know, and then these comments about change, and then you kind of have to affirm to yourself that it's, you know, it's a positive that we do change. And that's the other biggest issue with being on social media, is that when you start, you're always going to appear like this very sort of humble guy. I started filming in my mum's living room. Roll the clocks forward 10 years, and I'm using better camera equipment. I'm going on nicer holidays. But why does that? It annoys me that people like correlate this with me being a type of person. And you're like, oh, I'm not following you anymore because you're going to Mykonos. It's like, what the fuck? It's like you're ignoring all the value that I've created over the past 10 years, my members site, whatnot, and you're just focusing on that one thing of the fact that I'm spending my money how I want to spend my money.
That's that social media. 100 comments, one little...
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And that
bastard.
Is. That is.
You little fucker.
Yeah.
I'd like to zero in on that actually a bit, because as you were talking, I just wrote down the word haters. Because like it's probably a question I get, not all the time, but occasionally. And it's not, I don't think it's really something that bothers me. Like, someone makes a comment about my physique, I'm like, all right, sweet. Like, YouTube will know is probably the worst, as I only recently found out. They really feel like they've got a right to talk about you on that platform.
Yes. Reddit's even worse.
Yeah, but like YouTube, they noticed my gyno first. They, they're like, oh, you're not lean enough, and bodybuilding, you're never going to make it, and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But I think by and large, I think I've been doing this for 7-8 years now in terms of like the Instagram thing, and then obviously moving into other forms of social media. I would say by and large people's comments don't bother me on the whole, but there are, it's when I've found, and we'll probably get into this as well in terms of like the harder times when you kind of overshare your life, people think they've even got more of a right to comment,
of course.
And I got into a bit of a row with someone actually. I think must have been maybe about 6, 7, 8 months ago. Never spoke to the guy, doesn't know who I am, I don't know who he is, and he really got under my skin because he was kind of making presumptions about my life that were just so untrue. So he's like, oh, he's basically like, your relationship break down because you went off to Dubai and started living a different life. And someone asked me the 3 things I was grateful for, right? And I said one, like my business was one of them, and I basically meant like my clients by that. And then he just latched onto that, and he was like, "Oh, you've changed. You posting pictures of your drip. You're spending your clients' money." And I was like, "What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you?" And that I was just like, I really lost it with him. And he's probably one of 2 or 3 people I've ever got into a proper argument about in terms of like him attacking me. So it does happen, even if you feel like you've got a bit of armor around you and you're not too bothered by it. It can still get to you. So I wonder if we should talk a little bit about dealing with haters, because a lot of my younger or more impressionable clients, if they're trying to grow social media, they're like, how do you deal with negativity?
It's a big one. But I think the first thing is to always instill that kind of reassurance to yourself that any individual, I mean, 9 times out of 10, 99% of the individuals on social media that have these negative things to say about your physique, the way you dress, that is just a reflection of their own unhappiness. And as soon as you start to understand that, it kind of alleviates the stress of overthinking, because it's very rare that you'd ever find, like, not that we're incredibly successful, but we're doing well for ourselves, you wouldn't find us go out of our way to comment about the way someone looks. It just wouldn't. What do I get out of that?
Yeah.
So that's why when I reply to these with genuine concern, it kind of screws they cross their wires a little bit, because I'll direct message and say, "Is everything all right at home?" And they're like, "What?" I say, "Well, there's something obviously going on at home because you're unhappy because you're commenting about the way," and then it's like nothing, just seen. Yeah. So I think that a lot, and you're right. As soon as I've had a couple of like business calls with people that recently, and they're like, one of the first questions is like, one of the biggest barriers for them to start creating content is the fear of
what people think.
Yeah, which is insane. Like, and it's weird because I never really had that. As soon as I picked up the camera, I never really thought about what the impact of me talking about steroids until it actually happened. And then the first few videos that I was doing back then, about 9 or 10 years ago, were like 75% bad. It was like, you're doing bad for the sport. I remember guys at Metroflex Gym that were like, what you're doing for the sport is bringing it down. You're covering it in a bad light. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not even trying to do it. I'm just trying to give an insight into my journey on anabolic steroids.
No, that's flipped.
You look what's happened in 10 years now. You've got guys that were juicing before and kept stum because, and now it's not pro-anabolic, but everyone's so open about it. But that's because those sort of those influencers sat on the fence. They waited for a certain topic to be given the green light. and then go, right, I'll do it now.
Yeah.
I think just on that the happiness thing, I learnt this myself, and the second you realise it, it becomes so obvious, and you can almost like reduce any negativity to that quote, and it's like hurt people, and it's just so unbelievably true. Like you're just never going to find someone who's got a lot going on in their life, they're fulfilled in their life, or they're chasing something, who's got any time or the capacity. I don't have the capacity to be, you know, hating on someone else's life. It doesn't affect them, and that is 9 times out of 10 that would be my reply to anyone. If I'm going to even sanction them with a reply, it's going to be like, I literally, unfortunately, I pity like the reason that you feel the need to go out of your way to make a negative comment about what I'm doing that has no impact on you and never will. So how about you redirect that energy into something that's going to fulfill you or allow you to succeed, or just feel happier, man. Like, what are you doing? So, you know, with respect as well, because I think that's another thing I sometimes check myself when I'm replying to someone, like, hang on, you don't want to be the enemy now, and actually you don't want to be the bad guy. Yeah, like, try and be a bit respectful, even if you have been riled up. Do you remember that short Drake clip about, he said around, if I'm going to react to something, I always leave it like 72 hours or something like that.
And 72-hour rule.
That's genius. It's so clever.
Because you don't care after 2 days, do you?
No.
It's gone. And you just like, yeah, no worries.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. But even like constructive, I completely respect constructive criticism. But there's also a kind of a level of taken on board to some degree.
This is exactly what I was going to say.
What these quote unquote haters, that's such a cliche.
No, I just don't think we can use the excuse of like, I'm going to ignore negativity and just be oblivious and live in my own little world and give shit content. Because like, no one's giving you good advice.
Because you end up almost being some sort of inverted Karen by censoring that.
Exactly.
And then you're almost in this world, this sort of all unicorn world of like, I'm only listening to good things, and like I've created this little bubble and sphere where anything negative, no, I delete it. So I mean, even if I do delete it, I'll take on board the comment, and I'll have to think a little bit.
But there's a difference, right, between hate and constructive criticism, or even criticism.
Yeah.
So if there is anything remotely valuable in what they say, so I've had countless times now, and I try and take this on board. I actually think I don't know if I'm going to change it, but people, I mean, it flips, to be fair, but people are like, on YouTube, people are like, you need to speak up and address the camera more and be a bit more like, have a bit more oomph. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I'll take that. That's feedback. I've got to talk up a bit more.
Yeah.
I know I mumble anyway. I've always been a mumbler. My family absolutely.
It's that deep voice.
Yeah,
does not travel across a room.
No, exactly. They're like, can you speak up? What was that? I'm like, what? So that sort of, I just think there's draw a line between someone being just disrespectful and also saying, you might have got some good information, but I can't bear listening to you because your voice is so boring. Fair play. I'll try and talk up a bit then. So yeah, just important to distinguish that line, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
In terms of one thing in particular I clocked the other day, Joe, was when I study my friends, right? Like sometimes a bit too much.
Even though you don't follow them.
No, I don't. I don't. But this is one of my reasons of coping. Like this is one of my things, because someone went through that kind of patch where I was just like, I felt totally burnt out and overwhelmed with everything that's going on, and my way of just kind of taking a step back was to unfollow. I think I got into a really bad space of comparing everything. Like during prep, as good as it was having you two in the camp when we were training, I'd leave and I'd be like, I'm not as conditioned as Josh, or how comes my arms don't look like Joe's? And I thought one of the only ways for me to kind of detach from that was just unfollow everyone. And that's been one of the biggest things I could recommend to someone who's struggling with that comparative element on social media. Because I can't remember the podcast, I shared it the other day. I can't remember. Did you see it was a rapper? I don't know if it was like, I don't know who it was, but he was saying that did you see it? Can you?
It's ringing bells, but I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember the rapper, but he said his the biggest area for why he fell into a slump of depression was that constant comparison, because he views himself as a normal person. And I was like, that's so weird, because in our eyes he's a celebrity. So it's weird to hear him as a celebrity say, I still view myself as a normal person. And he's comparing his normal person to people's highlights. and Instagram Reels, and that was one of the biggest areas of me unfollowing everyone. So now my feed is just, it sounds incredibly narcissistic, but now my feed is just me. If there's a way to unfollow me, then that would be brilliant. I just literally wanted to use Instagram as what it was, a tool, a platform for content, because I was getting sick of like comparing people's businesses, the way they look, their holidays, and
you'll always find someone having a better day, earning more money, living a better life on this little fucking device in your phone. You'll always find it, so try and not look for it.
Yeah, because Elon Musk was talking about that on Rogan's podcast as well, and he was just saying, you're seeing a snapshot, you're seeing I mean, there's probably times whereby I could pull up images of my Instagram and show you where it looked like I was having a good time, and I was probably fucking struggling.
Definitely.
But to people, they're like, oh, he's on holiday, or he's wherever, he's in Ibiza, or even at home, like I've bought something, and I could probably pinpoint and say, you know what, I was fucking low then, mate.
Everyone could do that though, right?
Yeah.
I think that resonates with me in terms of like probably the struggle this year that should never have been a struggle. Like I think my downfall this year was the disparity between expectation versus reality. I thought this year, and going off to America and being out there and competing and living the dream, as it were, I thought I'd be absolutely buzzing 24/7. In actual fact, like after the first show, when I realised I was like on my own, really like people's company, whoever it is, really like people's support as well. You know, it's just not the same, like posting pictures and not having someone to speak to. So I think that disparity between what you're going to expect from something and then the reality of it is like damaging at times.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I had this weird vision that this year was going to be like 2021. That COVID's finished. I think my sort of issues with what was going on in my head happened during lockdown. Like, and it's similar because we're seeing yourself now who's out of training because your surgery, but that inability for me to go and exert just heavy weights during that lockdown really fucked me up, and it felt almost not like almost like you when you are in that low patch and you find yourself dipping back into it, you almost get like a PTSD effect of like, oh my god, this happened to me last year, it's happening again. But I'm with you on that one. I had this weird vision that 2021 was going to be like this best year ever, like COVID's finished, and had my shows and I won my show, and then it's literally flipped, and now I'm finding myself in this like really weird kind of transitional phase. I'm finding it hard because it's almost like we spoke about in the previous podcast, like I'm not rebranding, but I'm sort of targeting new audience or potential new customers and audience members here, so it's a bit daunting. But I agree with you. This I'm hoping 2022 is going to be a lot better. It's a lot better for a lot of us.
I just think that I've seen countless quotes on the whole like what I can't remember what it is, but in terms of like what you expect of something, then the reality of it is basically, isn't that where sort of disappointment and it, like elation comes from? Disappointment is when you build something up to be X and then it turns out to be Y, and then that gap is effectively your disappointment. And actually, to like flip that on its head in terms of like a positive, I remember, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate in terms of the pro card, that really like I think it almost exceeded my expectations of how it would feel. That was the first time I'd ever achieved a dream. And to be able to stand there and say I've achieved something I've dreamed of, I thought was the most incredible, like ecstatic feeling I could ever remember. And I still now remember, you know, for weeks after I was just on cloud nine, and that was that's like a really great feeling. And I hope that everyone gets to experience that at some point in their life, whether that's like having a kid or like buying a property or getting a great car, and whatever it is that you attach fun to or happiness to. I think we're like three young lads as well that obviously, I know Josh, at the moment well, maybe forever you don't want kids, but like for me, I feel like I'm really looking forward to that as like a process. I feel like that would be an incredibly fulfilling and satisfying part of my life. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I think something I always remember is like they're way better days ahead. You know what I mean? However you feel now, and like everything is temporary. That is something I live by as well. I think I've learned that over the last few years. Happiness, completely temporary. Anguish is temporary. Nervousness, anxiousness, it's all temporary, and it will all pass. And I think that is what helps me get through when I'm struggling. It's like I might feel like this today, but 3 days and let alone 3 months, like I'm going to feel a whole different person. And I think it's interesting when you talk things through with people, and they tell you how you feel one day, And then you almost don't listen to it in that moment, but 1 week later, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Everything can be totally different. I think that's really powerful, something that I hold on to when things are a bit shit.
Mm. Because it's almost like you're chasing that high, isn't it? You're chasing that. You felt on complete ecstasy, on cloud nine with that pro card, and you're like, well, when you dip down, you kind of frantically feel like I've got to go. I need to hit this again.
There's a new high.
What's my next
Never
hit?
ending.
What's my next hit? I need I'll pump this into t-shirts, and then I'll probably get that same buzz if I sell X amount of t-shirts. But I fell short, so now I'm like, oh fuck, I need to double drop. I need to do something now to get me back up. It's very interesting to hear it. I mean, I've been I'll be fucking honest and open as I've been, for the first time I've gone out and kind of seek some help through like counselling, some therapy sessions this year. And I said to you, didn't I? And you said to me it was just the ability to openly speak 60 minutes, just complete. I mean, like, sometimes I look back on those sessions and I think I don't know what I've said, but just the ability to speak to someone for 60 minutes with whatever it is so beneficial, and something that I've always been very hesitant. I've always been hesitant on the whole journaling thing. I've always almost had this kind of guard up throughout my whole life, and then I kind of let one thing in, and that was the journaling. The journaling was fucking brilliant. Like, it was fantastic. The ability to get your feelings and emotions out on paper just every single morning just sets you up for the day. And then the next one was like, a lot of people said, oh, I've been having counselling, I've been having CBT and hypnotherapy. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I think you just immediately think that's deep, didn't you? You think,
yeah,
I don't need that. I'm not that bad.
Yeah,
that's how you feel.
I remember thinking about. I thought I've almost thought like me getting counselling or me getting therapy was like a dent,
like an admission.
Yeah, like
100%.
I thought, no way am I entering that. It's not me. Like, it's not me. I've had 3 or 4 sessions now, and it's probably one of the best things I've done. It's absolutely incredible, because I suppose the good thing, I mean, we're all very pro, us blokes are all very pro kind of being open and talking to one another. But even I find it with my friends, there's always a bit of a barrier. Like,
it's like genetically built in. It's the culture that we brought up in. It's that man versus female. It's male versus not trying to feel a certain type of way because you're a man. Like, that's all I've ever known. That's how I've built. That's how my dad is. Yeah, that's how his dad was, and that I think that has a pretty detrimental effect and impact on young males today, because they feel like you just said, you're talking about. For me, it feels like a weakness. It feels like a dent, like you said. If I'm gonna give in and need help, that's how it feels. I know that's wrong, and I can feel that's wrong, but that's just how I feel about it. And I think that's just been where...
That's the difference between, like, girls are very good at, when girls go through shit, it's just like straight away, like, round their ass. You know what I mean?
Let's have a chat.
Yeah. I used to see it happen in front of my eyes. The message used to go off, I'm feeling low, get your fucking coat on, they're out the door within 30 seconds. I think, fucking hell, we don't do that.
No.
Like, my was like, do you want to go with COD?
Yeah.
Do you want to jump on Warzone?
Let's forget this.
You know what I mean? And but yeah, no, I mean, I think one big step to kind of, and referring back to what they're talking about in the Movember and the Mental Health Foundation, in terms of being open about the conversation, the biggest step is talking to someone. But that the additional element that a kind of counsellor or therapist gives is their ability to process and help you out. Like, it's all very well speaking to someone about it, but when they're not qualified, you know what I mean? It's like I could speak 2 hours for my mate, but it's almost like not speaking to a wall, but it's very hard for them to give something back. Whereas a therapist who's had fucking 30, 40 years in the game, experience, can go, right, maybe you need to do this, this and this. And after the first session, she said to me, you're an overthinker, you overthink way too much, and you're a perfectionist. And I was like, it's like a fucking light bulb moment. It's like, oh my God, this person gets it. Oh my God, she understands. Oh my God, yes, I had this weird fucking connection with her. She was like, yeah, from what I can hear, you're a massive overthinker, and you're a perfectionist. And then from there, you kind of gave me techniques to help with those situations, and been doing those techniques. A lot of kind of meditative work and breathing techniques. AM and PM have been fantastic. Just simple time management things, which I think is a big area. And I get a lot of questions on time management. Kind of now I've transferred into this lifestyle role, whatever it is, of kind of managing time. It's one area that I wanted to kind of pick both your brains about, is your kind of systems and structures. Is it? I presume when you left John Lewis, was there some sort of? Did you try and almost mirror? Because I certainly tried to mirror when I was employed into what I do at this time.
I think I very slowly sort of acclimatized to the new situation in terms of like you're all on your own time now. Back to the expectation versus reality thing. First thing I thought was I'm going to have loads of free time. Total opposite. And the second thing, I think this goes for prep, this goes for any time in your life when you've got a lot going on, you will flex and you're like Stretch Armstrong, like you'll stretch yourself in to get it done. Yeah. When there's less going on, I think your body knows that and it will relax a little bit.
Yeah, to conserve.
Yeah, so it took me a while to do anything. I was just sort of getting on with it initially. Then I started realising about when I was most productive. So very quickly learnt that actually I'd get the bulk of my work done first thing in the morning, like get up. Some people like to go for a walk, like to eat. I like to get up, have a shower, feel like I'm getting ready for something, have a coffee and start work. And really I will try and get most of my work done without even looking at my phone, without doing anything. I did the whole thing where I got 2 phones because I was like, there was a time actually, it was when I was still at John Lewis working from home in the pandemic, but trying to build up the online business. And I had an Apple Watch. I think I spoke to you about this before. And obviously I had an Apple Watch and a phone. And I'd put my phone on silent, but it was in my pocket. And we'd gone out for a walk just to get away from it for 10 minutes. And my watch started going. And I was like, no, I've got to take it off. Yeah. I was like, I felt the anxiety like rising up inside me. So I was like, right, I can get a second phone here. And then one just, if I don't want to look at work, it stays at home. Yeah. My personal phone will be attached to my watch and then that's that. So that was a really big thing that I did. Not looking at my phone in the morning was a massive thing for productivity. The second I open Instagram, I'm fucked. Because it goes down a hole, doesn't it? You know the whole thing about, I think I listened to a podcast the other day about Facebook obviously as Instagram and the whole business, its role is to keep you on the app. Yeah. And it does a really fucking good job at it.
Very good.
What's that program on Netflix?
I know which one you're talking about.
You know, and they kind of did
it's the scariest
almost like not a spoof, but it's actually real, whereby like 3 of them were at a thing. You're like, oh my god, hold on, he's drifting. Yeah. Send another.
Mirror?
I don't know if it was Black Mirror. It's very similar to Black Mirror.
Yeah. I know, I've seen that. I've seen it, and I don't know what it is, but it was very Black Mirror-esque.
And then like,
it learns each person.
Yeah, and it does, and then you actually kind of you're so ignorant to it.
So ignorant.
That's the thing, because I almost do a loop where I'll go Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Oh mate,
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and I think, fuck. But your whole thing of putting, I grabbed that book the other day. What's it? Is it called Stoicism?
The Daily Stoic.
Yeah, the Daily Stoic. Yeah, so that. For me now, I'm like, I do what you do. I just don't look at my phone.
It's best for me to completely. I've learned that like things that work for me are total like detachment or like just removing myself from a situation. The same goes with like prep. If foods are in the house that are going to trigger me, it's best they're just not in the house. If my phone is going to trigger me, it's best I just don't go on it. So yeah, in terms of time management, back to the question, I basically then got to a point where I was like, right, I get up. I'd rather get up early, get all my work done, then I'll eat. And then I'll train, and then the afternoon really is like almost comes to be like downtime. It's like easier work. I've seen loads of people speak about this. So I get my hard work done in the morning, and then like easier, softer stuff in the evening. I think you're the complete opposite.
In what sense?
You like working in the evening, don't you?
Light work in the evening.
Light work. I thought you liked getting work done later on.
It's switched at the moment, so I do like hard work in the evening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That blows my mind.
Because I love a morning. I love doing fuck all.
Fair enough.
I love getting up and just playing with Gunner and doing this and that, going to the gym. And then I feel like once I'm come back from the gym, I'll have a good 6-hour block. I'll have a nap and that's where my day starts.
That's so funny.
That's like, because Grace Beverley's book talks about that. And about how this concept of we're like, as a society, we're kind of almost bred into believing that if you're not hard working in the morning,
the 5 a.m.
then you're doing it wrong. Yeah. Which is another big impact of like the demise in people's mental health, is this constant pressure of us being this archetypal business guru, or businessman or woman or gender fluid business person, and it just I agreed massively. Like, and I think it was Ben I spoke to the other day, and he was like, I feel bad if I'm working this particular hour. I was like, why do you feel bad for working? I get my creative juices get flowing really late at night sometimes, because I don't really do much. Like I'll eat and I've got like this 3-hour window. I watch a bit of Netflix, and then, or it might be the simple thing of me watching Netflix has sparked like.
Yeah,
I'll be like, wow, that was an incredible shot selection, or that was an amazing scene, or I'd really like the mise en scène or cinematography or whatever, and that would spark like, right, out comes the notebook, and then I start getting creative. But yeah, no, I like I said, I love analysing people, and I like getting to the bottom of like figuring out people's routines. What about you, Josh? Because we see each other in the gym at what, about 10ish,
about 10ish.
Yeah.
I usually wake up like kind of 7:30ish. I wake up pretty slow, and I'll do me on social media.
Yeah.
But by 8:30, I'm probably doing an hour's work or so. Like breakfast is already done. Even while I eat my breakfast, I'm probably just doing a few ad hoc bits. Nothing too strenuous though. Nothing that's gonna like demand a lot of capacity from my brain. I'll go train. I'll come back, I'll chill, and then I get the bulk of my work done.
Yeah.
Like I do the same thing, prioritize the thing that I don't want to do the most.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll do that first.
Yeah.
Then as I get towards evening, I'm like, oh sweet, I don't mind doing this. And then I'm not the best at it at switching off, to be honest. I think like where Amy works like a fucking beast, my girlfriend, she works like an absolute beast. So she sometimes don't finish till 7:38. So like me either. You know, why not? I might as well just keep going as well while I wait for it to be done. So, you know, more often than not, like I'll be up working late-ish. I go to bed at 9:30. So for me, 8 o'clock's pretty late. And like I'll have like set times throughout each week where I'll talk to the people that I need to talk to who help me with Wanamar and whatnot. We have just set time every single week. I'll have like little fluid blocks which I'll, let's say like 2 to 4 p.m. most days, where I don't mind rotating what I do in those. So if I got some emails to get done, I'll get done. But it's very much the same every single day, regardless of what day it is.
Yeah. Do you set yourself times whereby? Because someone posted on Instagram the other day, tips for those that are struggling with with social media, and it was advice on just setting yourself. Because my issue that I fall into is that I feel like I'm almost letting my followers down if they send me a message and I don't respond within 10 minutes. I feel like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I get this really bad anxiety. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
So, and this post that this person put up was like, because if you collate all the times that I reply to someone across the day, it's probably not that much. So I'm thinking, well, why don't I just box off a period of time in the day, say like you did 2 till 3 or even less than that, where I just respond to DMs or respond to comments, for example.
Yeah.
Because I fall into the trap of, especially where YouTube algorithms and Instagram algorithms are going at the moment, I feel like as soon as someone comments, in order for me to get that additional comment up on the YouTube channel,
it's gonna help.
Yeah.
Exactly
And it does to some degree, but then there's also that layoff who was like, well, is me being on my computer at 7 for an hour responding to every comment that comes in just fucking me up a little bit, and it kind of was, but yeah, no, it was interesting to see. It's interesting to see you two kind of box off your times.
I just find myself very easily distracted. I'm like, I think I've probably got some form of like attention deficit disorder. I will like, I think I was explaining to someone yesterday. I'll be in the kitchen, like I say, I'm unpacking the dishwasher, right, and I'm halfway through the cutlery tray. I don't know what happens in my mind, but I will leave that. I could be gone for 20, 30 minutes, and I come back and I'm like, what the fuck happened there?
Exactly the same.
And the time's gone, but I've probably done something in that time, but I'm just like, that annoys me. I'm like, why are you doing that? And I really struggle with that. So
I'm exactly the same.
It's just an interesting point.
Even yesterday, programming new clients, the simple task of me going on YouTube to find an exercise for them to put in their nose. As soon as YouTube came up, there's a video of Dr. Disrespect. I was like just watching that for 10 minutes. I thought, what am I doing? I've come on YouTube specifically to pick out an exercise from the Muscle Mentors to send to this client, and I've got so easily distracted.
Easily done. That's what it's designed
rabbit
for.
hole.
It's so
exactly. It's some people behind the computer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it is.
And that's why that's why I try to make a conscious effort to almost hack the system and by unfollow, and that's helped by unfollowing everyone on Instagram. It's meant that it's not really taking up my time.
Yeah.
But like, if there's a way, and this is why they're in a job, isn't it? It's why they do so well, because they do get you. But if there's a way to kind of like completely blank out certain things on YouTube and on TikTok, even now since starting up on that TikTok account, I'm getting addicted to it, man.
It's
I'm
so
like,
easy. It's
like
so
I just
easy.
like the engagement last night off that living room TikTok, like 20. I've only got 2,000 followers, 20k views, and like sent you the thing in like seven. What? This is insane.
goes.
They do such a good job.
And then you get that dopamine hit, and you think, "Fuck,
I know.
20,000 people watching that.
I know.
Might have to go do another one.
Exactly, and
Be
then
like here tomorrow."
oh my god, Josh, that's exactly because I'm thinking now. What do I do? Do I kitchen next? I was like, do I mess?
Bathroom.
Is Joe free on Saturday? We do our bathroom on Saturday, Joe, and these people are liking it. It's a very, very I think that the addictive nature of social media is getting more and more, and I think it's like down to us now whether we give into it or like.
I think the age-old question and statement comes in here, like, and I guess I propose it to everyone. I mean, the added social media in this world, is it? I think we know the answer. Is it adding like considerable amounts to people's insecurities, to people's anxieties, to people's mental health?
Hugely.
Do you think it's doing a damage? And do you think that the potential reward outweighs the damage that it's probably doing? I think that's obviously different for a lot of people.
The more I'm in it, the more I understand how fucked up it is, and it's just one of the root cause for my issues with my head. Everything. If I pinpoint everything that I felt has gone wrong in my life or career, it comes from social media. Whether it's relationships and this kind of fucking grass is greener effect that we see even like in talking about that kind of snapshot and that highlight reel is the same sort of thing that Love Island have introduced now. You see relationships that are built for 3 or 4 weeks. They're like every single day they've sort of fucking fall in love with each other. Casa Amor opens up and they get a 24-hour snapshot of this new girl that's come in or boy that's come in. He's all funny, they're all glitz and glam, and it's like you're ruining 3 to 4 weeks of relationship that you've just built with this one person because you think, oh, the grass might be greener.
Yeah.
But when I think about all the issues, like comparing myself and just spiraling, it's all down to social media. So like, the more I'm in it, the more I'm like,
that's the thing.
Like, I can't slag it off because
that's where the risk to reward comes in for people, and I think it's important that people do their own due diligence to think like, is this, whether you fucking follow us or not, like I don't care about that. Is this doing you any favors right now? Do you open that and think, oh yeah, that's cool, I feel better now? Or do you open it and feel a little bit worse?
Oh mate, worse.
Because for me, like I'm pretty good at separating myself, so I'm absolutely fine with it. The risk to reward for me is fine. I'm happy to take that risk, and because I have a really good reward from it. For someone like my girlfriend Amy, she hasn't used Instagram. She doesn't know what I do every day because she removed Instagram, deleted it. Because every time she opens it, she think, I don't feel any better now. I think got to go do my 12-hour job every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah,
I ain't living that life.
I think what you've touched on there is the answer, and it's probably the answer for many things in life. In that, is the risk worth the reward? And for some people it will be, and for some it won't. Like none of us would be here without social media. So I can hand on heart say I would. If I could go back and change it, I wouldn't. Yeah. Because I needed it to get to where I am. I quite enjoy it at times. I definitely get some fulfillment from it. Whether I consciously think that is, or whether I'm aware that is a healthy enjoyment from it or not, I don't know. I'm definitely a massive victim of comparison all the time. But I think that I think I'll find that in life regardless of social media. I think my answer is that social media will magnify all my problems and magnify all my solutions, maybe, if you like, or inspirations. But it's not the root cause. I think I'm the problem. Yeah. I've always wanted more. Always seen someone and wanted that. I see a nice car and I want a nice car. I see nice clothes and I want nice clothes.
That's so weird.
I think social media just makes it a lot more accessible for me to find those problems and solutions. The biggest flex is not flexing. Like, it's just like kind of existing.
Course. Yeah, that's true.
And I think that comes with being humble and having like a grounded sense of like yourself and what value is there in me showing off. I don't get it. I've never really understood that in the way that we'll see some people do it. But I thought about this myself the other day. I said it to you, didn't I? Do you think that like just moving off social media, but it again is magnified it, like music. I think music nowadays is toxic.
Yeah.
I listen to all hip hop and rap. It is absolutely dominates my Spotify, and it's so toxic. It's all about bitches, money, cars. Then you go on social media, you see that same rapper with bitches, money, cars in their videos. So you're just exposed to it all the time from every angle, and I think that's damaging. So my answer is that social media like amplifies my issues, but it's a problem I need to solve myself, and I wish I could. I'm now more aware of it. Like I'm going to read that book around minimalism, because I'm sat here in trainers that I didn't need to spend anywhere near as much money as, but I sit here happy that I'm doing it for me. I don't really care what anyone else thinks.
I can comment on that, because I felt that when my mental health started spiraling was when I was doing things not for me. And I remember it started getting bad because you realise it yourself, didn't you? I remember thinking, right, I'm going on to Mykonos on Friday. In order for my airport picture to look good and look like one of the influencers, I've got to have a bag.
And that's problematic.
I can't just have a shitty Nike bag. I've been wearing a nice tracksuit. I've got to go to Louis Vuitton now and spend £1,000 on a bag. I remember even sitting in there and she was like, "Oh, do you want anything?" I just thought, what? I felt like getting up. But it's interesting. It's a very fine line between sort of posting stuff like that as some form of motivation to almost say, look, guys, I fucking grew up on a council estate. Mum, dad split up. They haven't had the best upbringing, but now I'm doing this, like, or just like I'm being a total, I'm being a total shaft. And I definitely have fallen into not recently. It's only been recently where I've been, regained a lot of happiness because I've understood the issues that I was kind of going through. Is that I'm doing things now for me. I'm creating content again that I want to create. I'm buying things that I want to, like, and I'm not averse to spending X amount, but the reason why I'm doing it is because it makes me feel good. I've worked hard, done a big client intake. My reward for me is going somewhere and buying it, but I'm not going there buying it and taking a picture of it. I'm going there buying it and it's for me. Do you know what I mean?
Whereas before the picture was already taken before you bought it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mate, I like and it's like when I went on holiday, or I'd go on holiday and I'd think, right, I'm going away for 4 days. I need 4 different outfits, and you know what I mean. It's tricky because in one sense it's quite good content. Like these clothing hauls do really well. It also gives me the chance to then get on the map of other businesses.
Different eyes.
Yeah, they'll reach out and go, like, oh, we like your style, like Novu, for example, or a Legend. So it's really hard. It's really hard. You almost want to say on camera, guys. Every time I open up with a clothes store, I really want to say, guys, I'm not showing off. I'm not showing off. This is what I'm buying. I'm going on holiday. Do you know what I mean? You almost feel, and then you think, I can't be going down that route, man. Like, people are going to have an opinion regardless of you saying I'm not showing off or not.
I think when money's involved, when things that are rationalised different to different people, that £1,000 bag might be, someone's best present they've ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
Other people are like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And those people are always going to stumble across those videos and be like, why are you spending that on that? Well, because I can, and it makes me feel good. So chill out, innit?
But it's done nothing for me, mate. Do you know what I mean?
that's
the awakening.
Just sitting there
That's
now,
the
like, what the
conversation.
fuck, man? But it's just, I could have just got a 20 quid bag from Zara.
And that's
You'd have rented it from Selfridges.
Yeah, exactly. That's a weird one, because I've now I remember doing a video on that whole Selfridges rental thing and thinking that it's just adding more fuel to this fire that we've got of flex culture. Because what's gonna happen now for the vast majority of people that are renting drip from Selfridges is that their Instagram feed now on a weekly basis is going to be a fucking Dior t-shirt, a Fendi t-shirt.
Now they have to do it.
And then you imagine if me and you just went on this guy's Instagram, I'm like, fuck, every week he's got that. That's a £500 t-shirt. You must be spending like 4 or 5 grand on clothes, but it's not. And I went on there the other day and it's like 20 quid, 22 quid. But I even thought, it's not a bad idea actually. I'm now going, I'd rather spend 22 quid and rent a t-shirt and look good in it than spend 500 quid. Do you know what I mean? But then I'm like, right, well, maybe I'll do it, but won't post a picture.
But then
that's like my right, get out of jail card, is that I'll do this. I'll rent an item of clothing, but I just won't post it.
Oh, it's a terrible vicious cycle.
It is. I mean, we're talking about lack of materialism. You're reading books. I've got that new book that I've bought, and underneath is a Chanel and Louis Vuitton book.
I pointed that out to you, didn't I?
Fucking, what am I doing?
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but
No.
Is it a good book?
It's what, the Louis Vuitton one?
Yeah.
It's great.
No, it's a cat.
I look at more. I look at.
It's to look good. It's a flex.
Did you buy it from Louis?
No, I bought it from
Amazon
for like 18 quid.
Okay, so I was going to ask you to, in terms of the whole mental or mental health and pressures that the world we live in causes us, and what drives that unhappiness or happiness. And I think a lot of it comes down to what your like personal definition of success is. So I think at a really unaware level, people will look up to people and think, oh, success is a nice car, it's a nice bag that we've spoken about, it's nice clothes. I think as you get a bit older and hopefully a bit wiser, you realise that's actually not success. That doesn't mean anything, especially when you can go to Selfridges and rent a bag or a top for £20.
Precisely.
But then that begs the question: is success about money? What is success? What is a successful look like?
Being happy, mate. Like genuinely being for like, I thought I got really lost, especially when I was like working with Luke, and who's been fantastic for me in terms of like almost like a mentor when it comes down to business. But I remember when I used to go into that office sometimes, and he used to sort of say, "Well, why aren't you doing this? You should be doing that." And I was sort of like, I'm being pressured here to do things that I don't really want to do. And I fucking love Luke, by the way. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just, one individual's interpretation of what success is and how an individual should be working isn't necessarily gonna, like, that's just not me. Like, I've learned. I was having lunch with my mate Josh the other day, and he said, I quite happily just sort of sit under that VAT threshold. As long as I can go on holiday 4 or 5 times a year, I'm happy. And I was like, mate, that's so like this quest that what is this quest, this fucking journey that I'm on? Where's it going to stop? And ultimately, it's every day, as each day passes, it's like my interpretation of success is just being happy, just having that freedom when it comes down to work. Like,
okay, so that's what I want to get into. So what is success is happiness, but what is happiness to you? What do you think will bring you happiness?
It's a very good question, mate.
Because we all want to be happy, right?
Yeah.
But what will bring you happiness, and therefore what will give you success? If you need a minute to think about it, we can ask Josh.
Yeah.
I got an answer for you. Shitload of money.
Yeah.
Shitload of money make me very happy, and I'm more than happy to sit here.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a millionaire. I want my mum to. I want to retire my mum. I want to bring my dad back to England.
Okay, so I think that's what I want to get to as well, because I am happy to say that money will make me happy. So why will money make you happy?
It facilitates everything that I can feasibly do. It removes that constraint that every single human on this planet, near enough, has to play by, and that's the money game. Everyone has to play that game.
Yeah.
Some play it better than others. I want to play it very good, and I want to be able to check the fuck out.
Cool.
I want to check out the game at 35, 40, and then I can do whatever is beyond that horizon is not going to be dictated by money, which I feel like will be a much straighter road towards my happiness.
So I think for me, and I think it's a bit of it's almost like it's a dangerous topic, and it might be problematic for some people, but I think a certain amount of money, I don't know what it is. So there's that stat around once you earn, I think it's $73,000 a year, it kind of flatlines. I don't almost believe that for me. And the reason is because I think money itself, sat there in a pile, is not going to make me happy, but what it allows me to do will make me happy. So I am now lucky enough to, or fortunate enough, or I've worked hard enough to live a life where I can go and work from anywhere, which is great, kind of without, some level of repercussions. So I think freedom is happiness. I think freedom will give me happiness. I think a family will give me happiness. It's going to give me challenges, but I want a family to be really happy. I want them to be carefree all the time. And I would absolutely love to give back to my family that need it. So I'm really fortunate. Like my stepdad's done really, really well for himself, and I don't think I'll ever need to give back to him. But there's people that I would love to. I want to remove stress for people.
Exactly.
I've been in a place where I'm not from a disadvantaged background by any means. I was really fortunate growing up. It's not been handed to me on a plate, but I didn't have to worry about where the next meal was coming from, which I think is a really scary idea. But I have had to worry about where it's coming from at certain points. So when I first moved to London, was on like, I don't know, 18 grand a year living in London. My rent's 650. My pay packet's 1300. I've got 600 quid. That's a lot of money to some people who are going to a food bank. But it stressed me out and I didn't like that feeling. So for me, money would bring me happiness because it would bring me freedom and a relatively stress-free life. Because I think financial stress is the worst stress. Yeah. Unfortunately. So that, for me, that's what kind of happiness is. It's removing my own stress and removing as much stress as possible for other people. And I want to see the world is another thing that I believe will make me happy. Even if it's just for that moment, I really want to travel and see the world.
I read a study. It was through Harvard actually, and it basically tried to quantify or put a label to the happiest wage bracket, and the wage bracket they came out with was pretty high. It was between $150,000 and $250,000 a year, because it gave them enough money to have a taste of things that are, supreme. You go pay your 10 grand holiday, you might be able to go a business class flight, and you get a little taste of it, but not enough that you can do it all the time. So you almost drip dopamine hits in, rather than just like, my life is a fucking dopamine hit. Where can I get the next one? Right, I need a 10 fucking woman orgy. That's where these billionaires end up, because they've got they've got nowhere else to go with that dopamine.
Of course, you look at McGregor at the moment, almost spiraling. He's got everything, but but it's coming back to that point. I can, and it's not cliche or to say, but there's times where I think I was happy when I was at GNC earning 900 quid a month. That because I come from quite a, when my parents separated, it was tough because it was, my dad, you talk about food and things like that. Like my old man used to have to go without sometimes just to feed me and my brother. So for me,
that's fucking crazy, by the way.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so like that's why for me anything just above that makes me happy. Because we've been there, do you know what I mean? Because I've had to start fucking...
You value that.
Yeah, so anything, like, being able to just buy food and have... that humbles me. So I'm not... I don't have... I almost felt like I had to be this... Like, you sat there and said, I want to be a millionaire. I almost forced myself into thinking that I should be like that. But it's not. Like, I don't really care. I'm not in this to be a millionaire. I'm quite content earning X amount a year. It allows me to go to a coffee shop and work when I want. I want to ultimately help people. If I can go on holiday 3 or 4 times a year, I'm content. I don't have this ferociousness inside me to build this fucking empire and to be this McGregor fucking Escobar Chapo kind of guy that I once thought I did and once portrayed a person that would, because it just wasn't me. I felt fucking uncomfortable, I felt miserable, and now I've come back round full circle and I'm just like, do you know what I mean?
But you still you still have a taste for like the finer things, right?
Absolutely, mate. I absolutely love it, but I'm also aware that I can my taste for finer things doesn't necessarily require huge amounts of money. Like it just doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Like a little trip away, I can get an Airbnb in Mykonos or somewhere. I don't need to spend, 4 or 5 grand on an apartment when an Airbnb is literally 500-600 quid.
Yeah,
who am I impressing?
I think this is like Dubai through and through. Obviously, having spent a lot of time there, I think you really quickly get quite sick of it. You go to these places where people are purely just flexing. They probably did it all on their credit card. So they're probably actually going home and being stressed to fuck. Like, that's not happiness to me. Might look good on their Instagram, whatever, but like I think that's a warning, like, to everyone of what we're talking about around that, like comparing and the highlight reel. Just be really careful who those people are, and look for people who have like done something, for that money. Like take inspiration and take enjoyment in watching someone's journey from X to X. Like, I think that's where the value is. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10, especially if they got to chapter 10 by going on something completely unfulfilling, because they're not happy anyway. So I think that's important. But I can relate to what you said around, I don't remember it, but like my mum brought me up on her own. So my mum's like, she's really young. She had me when she was 21. And she looked after me while she was studying to be a nurse at Nottingham Uni. And that blows my mind, because I can't remember it, but I remember us living together, her going through stuff that I had to watch from men. and then kind of coming out the other side, because she met my stepdad, and he's really also built himself from nothing. So I feel like I've really seen a nice transition of what life can be like and also what life can be like. So I don't feel out of touch. And my mum's always driven into me, like from a young age. I remember her telling me like £1's a lot of money. And I never like forgot that. I never really quite forgot it. And now she looks at me sometimes. She's like, "You spent that on what?" And I'm like, But I think I still have a sight of what, you know, what it could be like. So I think that's why happiness for me is like, I want people not to have stress. I don't want to have stress, and I know that money facilitates that. I know it facilitates freedom and travel.
The stress 100%. Just 100%. Like being in the position now whereby, you know, when my mum and dad come around for dinner and they're like, "Oh, fucking, I can't afford the bathroom," and me going like, there you go, that's sorted. And just to see that alleviation of fucking hell, bro, brilliant.
Yeah, what a feeling.
Yeah, it is a very, very nice feeling. Like we got my cousin's holiday. We got my cousin's wedding next year. And even like that's next year, that's August, and even now my mum's fretting about the flights. I'm like, "Mum, come on now, I'll sort that out." But then
That's mum's though.
it is, yeah.
My mum's exactly the same. My mum, look, I'm nice. Like, I've got whatever you need. Just
it does. It humbles you though. It does humble you a lot. So I mean, I think that's a very important key thing to remember if anyone's listening that's kind of progressing through the ranks in social media or whatever industry, and is to remember what side your bread's buttered on. You know, simple things like I said I was to you the other day. I just talked about one way to keep your humble is clean your kitchen floor.
Yes,
I was on my hands and knees the other day cleaning the kitchen floor. I thought, yeah,
that's it.
I
watched this podcast with Dan Bilzerian, right, and he's gone through his swings and roundabouts, and he's come out a little bit stoic. And he said that once he's done what he needs to do with, he's finishing a book, he's going to go apply a job in Target, and just work a dead end job for a month, because he's like, I don't get a kick out of anything. I don't have anything that gives me anything anymore. I need to go work like a dog. I need to remember what it feels like. And I'm like, I think there's a lot of value in, like you said, doing those types of things. Remember, you're human.
Massive.
We're all ending in that same fucking grave in the ground.
Yeah.
You know, like let's remember that.
You just want to make sure you have a good time between now and then, right?
Yeah.
One chance.
And that's what it's like for me, really. I just want to make sure that someone asked me my greatest fear the other day, and it's just like I don't want to exist.
Yeah.
I just want to live. I want to see what it's all about, which is kind of where it ends up for me, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that Dan Bilzerian thing's mad, because and what another area that humbles me is that I remember doing. When I moved from Forest Hill to Hayes, my mate, we went on our first lads holiday, right? And even my mum and dad were like, we can only afford one thing. We can either get your flights or we can do your accommodation, but like you're on your own for that. So I got a job in McDonald's. I remember I went to my mum's the other day because she was clearing things out. And I looked at my old pay stamp thing, and it was like £4.20 an hour. I used to think I was like happy then, like, like where does it stop with the whole money thing? And like referring to McGregor again, where does it stop? Because it just seems that the more power and money that he gets, the more he's just spiraling out of control.
I think he's lost a goal. That's what.
Of course he is, mate. He's coked up in the back of his Bentley, whatever it is, with D. I said to you yesterday, didn't I? It seems like D's just gone, can't beat him, join him. But all of a sudden she's been pregnant, isn't she? Of course, what am I thinking about? But it seems like she's just gone, fuck it, I'm gonna go wild with him as well. But for me, that happiness thing, referring it back to when you asked, is like, I'll just remain as long as I can. I remember saying a few years back, I reckon I feel like I've made it when I don't have to type in cheap flights.
Yeah.
Because I remember when like me and Elle used to go on holiday, I used to type in cheap flights.
Lastminute.com.
And I used to say to her, like, I reckon I'll be sweet when I don't have to type in cheap flights anymore, or I can choose the flights that I want. It's just little things like that, and I feel like there's not much more for me. And you said about family, that's like, for me, that's like my next thing.
Yeah,
that's like my next hit is that challenge.
Let me ask then both. We might probably have to close up on one or two of these questions, but the first thing I want to ask is. Oh, you fucking joking? It's gone right out, man. How has that happened?
All the time.
How has that happened? It was a really good question as well.
Did you write it down?
No.
Let's list what were we talking about?
That's annoying. I was
Just
really,
go back. Oh, it was a really good one.
You really had my attention then as well.
same.
It was a really good question.
Yeah, the more we talk, the less.
What when it came to your head, what was I talking about? I'll come back.
What was your last sentence?
You're talking about D. You were talking about
Something about flights,
it's-
money, millionaire, hitting the ceiling.
You know, you made it when you don't have to do cheap flights.
I can't believe it's gone. I'm fuming about that. It was a bloody good question. Ah, got it. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. Right.
I like them. I love them things.
Back in the room.
I want to try and address people that might be listening to this. What advice would you give to people that are on that journey and not quite at a point where maybe they really, really want to be not searching for cheap flights, but at the moment they are.
Yeah.
Where do you think that leaves them? Because I don't want us to just talk about where we're at now, which is, great and happily for us, quite fortunate and not having to worry and don't have stress. But what about for those people that are maybe looking at the BBC or anyone else who they deem to be doing well and wanting to be in that position? What would you say to them to look after their mental health, but also how do they get there?
In terms of how they get into the position where they had that financial freedom.
Yeah. What do you think you have to do to find yourself in a position of financial freedom?
By asking yourself what is my, you have to be almost true to yourself and ask, because there's probably people that are like, well, I don't, but I'm quite happy getting cheap flights.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But what if they don't?
Well, and if they want to, then it's it's obviously very much based on the individual, isn't it? Because you have to start figuring out what it is that they do and what advice that we can offer them to help them be in a position where they are financially free.
I'd say in terms of like how to get it, it's a bit difficult because of you need to know what they're going to do. But I think when you're on that journey, I think for me, the one thing that's helped me a lot is constantly assessing my relationships with things.
Mm.
For example, and it's silly, but like my parents and, even my relationship with money, is it healthy? Is that obsession going the wrong way? Like, what's my relationship with my job? Is it driving me into the ground, but it pays me really well? Is that worth it? And I think that's one thing that I've always been quite good at is, are the choices that I'm making to further my career worth it? And am I selling myself a little bit at any point?
Yeah, it's very good.
And
Almost like a risk assessment.
Exactly, and that's how I thought I've done it. Because even not in social media, in your job, right? You can be a huge corporate guy. You make 150 grand base a year. You got whatever, but you're working like a fucking dog 6 days a week. You feel like shit. You can't sleep. You're pasty. You got bad skin. Is all that worth it? If it is, cool. So I think just assessing those relationships with different things, how you feel internally, physically, emotionally, has been something that I've assessed as I've gone along, and that's something that's helped me along that journey.
Yeah, it's almost as if, are you willing to go through the stresses of that 150 grand or have none of that and earn 30 grand?
My mum's always said that to me. She's always said, you can earn money in this world, but you will pay for it. You're gonna pay. You don't just wake up one day and be 100 grand. It doesn't happen like that. I think my advice it's kind of always been the same for people, but it's like, find something that. So I'll go back to where we all kind of started and where the success began, if you like. You have to do something and work like a dog, what that work looks like, for free for a good period of time. So you better
no expectations.
You better be damn sure you like it.
Yeah.
Because I always roll way back to the start. It was like I was lucky to live in a flat whereby someone had a Virgin membership that I didn't have to pay for. Yeah. I would just spend all hours, like I would do everything because I loved it. It didn't matter to me, and I would post pictures, and I cared how many likes they got and how much engagement I got, but it just kept going, and just allowed that to compound. And even as I sit here now, I don't quite know how I'll get to that next level, but I know that I'm still enjoying myself, and every day I wake up feeling lucky to do what I'm doing, and that's because you've said it so many times that it resonated with me unbelievably. Is like, you have to eat shit for a good period of time until you're gonna like taste the caviar for the rest of your life.
Eat shit.
And I'm definitely not tasting caviar, but I see this a lot in the younger generation. I think it's even worse than when we probably grew up. Is there is a really unhealthy and unrealistic perception of like how you could be successful. Yeah. And I think that is so important to understand. Like, just understand that you're almost certainly going to have to eat some shit for a really long period of time. Like I said, 10 years, 10 years, like,
decade. And you know what? You might get it overnight, but you probably won't.
No,
it's very unlikely.
You probably won't. You know, you might just be that speck in the sand, but you definitely probably won't be.
Even with the case of the sort of the Love Island girls, the guys and the girls that get that very large following overnight, and you can sort of see the impact that it's having on their mental health is not of one that's positive. I think is it Camilla?
She's a doctor.
Camilla, and she married Jake, the guy with the beard. They just had a kid.
Jake Quickenham.
She just completely did the opposite. Didn't do any meet and greets, nothing.
Fucked
and just look at them, man, just thriving. And then you see the people that just whore themselves out, you know, advert after advert, and you just spiral and spiral. It's mad.
Yeah, I just think the advice is just like have some, like inject yourself some realism every now and again. Like look around you, go out into the street and look around you. Like, everyone's living quite normal lives, so understand you have to kind of do something a bit extraordinary if you want to succeed.
That's so true.
You're probably going to have to work 2 jobs for a bit, maybe even 3.
But also understand that there's nothing wrong if you enjoy your 9 to 5 office job.
There's absolutely
like,
nothing
fucking
wrong.
hell, man. We just seem to be in this.
So true.
Seem to be in this society whereby if you're not doing the 5 a.m. club, if you're not earning 100k plus a year, then you're a failure. And it's like,
This is not true.
The majority of my mates are chippies, are sparkies. Like, they're fucking. I envy them sometimes. I think, I'd love, like, I'd love to go back on site, get up 6 o'clock, bit of breakfast.
I need a bit of work done at the house actually.
Yeah, mate, I'm happy to do it, mate.
Yeah, £4.20 an hour.
Yeah, well, a bit more than that. Obviously, I've got a fine taste nowadays, but I look at that sometimes. I think I fucking used to have a right good laugh on the site.
Yeah,
Used
not
to
carrying the world.
Used to finish at 3, cash in hand, straight to the gym, out on a Friday. I thought, bosh, I'm fucking.
I think that, like, define your own success, understand what that looks like from like a. Try and understand it from a young age, because I think a lot of people will be unsure what happiness and success looks like. So define that. If you do define that as like a lot of money, then understand you're gonna have to work really hard to do it, and probably try and find something that doesn't feel like work. Because that is what I would resonate with. And I think that's.
And notice when it's too much for you. No, and you know, we can all kind of continue climbing that ladder, but when you hit that point whereby, like, this isn't sustainable for me, like for me as an example, doing, busting my bollocks to do like 3 YouTube videos a week plus in daily Instagram, I couldn't do it. And that's not I don't want that to be seen as me being a failure. I don't have the capacity to do that. I want to be a 1 or 2 YouTube a week video guy and put a really nice amount of effort into it, make it look all prim and proper, and I'll do a couple of Instagram posts, because any more than that and I spiral. So what's the point of me putting myself in a position whereby, yes, I'm creating more content, it's getting a bit more of a following, but at the cost of what? Me feeling like fucking dog shit. It's not worth it. But yeah, I mean, the podcast was supposed to be on. I think we discussed some other news. But to wrap up, like Joe said at the beginning, we're not in a position whereby we're this isn't our profession. We're just merely giving an insight into how we've kind of dealt with things. And there are, if any individuals are listening, there is fantastic charities and companies out there. If you do need support, you've got Calm, Campaign Against Living Miserably campaign. You've got the Depression Alliance. You've got Aware, Men's Health Forum, Mental Health Forum, and Samaritans as well, who have been doing some fantastic work. And like I said at the beginning, the guys and girls over at Movember and the Men's Mental Health Foundation are doing some fantastic work. So, yeah.
I think it's, just to end on, or start on, if we're going to put this at the beginning, I fucked that now, haven't I?
That's right.
Just a quick disclaimer.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, the topics we're going to speak about in this podcast should not replace professional or advice from a doctor or a medical professional. If you've got any immediate concerns, A&E 999 are the places you need to go. If you've got some perhaps not as immediate concerns, then there's loads of resources on the NHS website and various charities that Tom will mention in the podcast. So please do not take this as advice, or it should not replace anything professional. Hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you, guys and girls. See you soon.